Alright guys, I know the title with the whole recession thing sounds crazy, so give me a chance to explain, but regardless of whether we're going into a recession right now or not, it's always a good idea to be budgeting wherever you can, especially if you still love Apple products and want to stay in the ecosystem while also saving some cash. So what I'll be doing in this video is going through each category of Apple products and giving you guys some really good tips and options to save a lot of money. But first, I've got to explain the whole recession thing. It's no secret that inflation has been putting pressure on regular people around the world, with prices of everything going higher and higher, including food, gasoline, everyday products, services, cars, utilities, rent, housing, and more. And to make things worse, diesel prices have recently been skyrocketing in the past week, which is putting a huge strain on truckers who transport basically all of our food and goods to the stores we buy from, which means that they have to pass the extra cost along to other businesses and consumers. For example, Amazon just announced a 5% fuel and inflation surcharge for sellers, which means that they'll be raising the prices of basically everything on Amazon to cover that extra cost. And because of that, it seems like things could be getting worse in the near future for various reasons. First of all, other countries are reporting even worse inflation than us, like over 30% in the Eurozone and 70% inflation in Turkey. Yes, 70%. On top of that, the China lockdowns are continuing, which means more supply shortages, which will continue to inflate prices. Even Apple recently reported their earnings and mentioned that they could lose up to $8 billion due to the China lockdowns. The Federal Reserve also just had their FOMC meeting where they said that there are further risks to inflation due to the China lockdowns, which is one of the reasons they raised interest rates by 0.5 percentage point, the first time in 22 years that the rates were hiked this much. And Jerome Powell says that they're just getting started with the hikes, with more 50 basis point hikes on the table for the next couple of meetings, and maybe even 75 basis points next month. And while we did have a huge rally in the stock market as soon as Jerome announced the hike, all of it and more was lost the very next day because we got the worst US productivity report since 1947. And now to explain the significance of the rate hikes, it's basically going to slow down the economy because higher rates mean that it becomes more expensive to borrow money. So anything purchased with a loan will be getting more expensive. And what this basically leads to is lowered demand for buying things, including tech products, which Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo has already been seeing in terms of the global smartphone market for months, which could lead to people getting laid off from their jobs, bringing us closer to an official recession coming sooner than expected. In fact, a recent CNBC poll shows 80% of small businesses are expecting to see a recession this year, which is why the small business sector has laid off 105,000 total employees in the first quarter of the year. And it's not just small businesses. We are now seeing reports of Facebook and Amazon doing hiring freezes. And even Apple has reportedly frozen hiring of Genius Bar employees. And the only reason it makes sense for anyone to stop hiring is because they expect sales to go down this year, potentially because of a recession. And whenever we start seeing more and more news headlines of recession risks, that's when people start saving money and budgeting, which is basically why I decided to make this video. And in terms of how close we are to going into a recession, we're actually 50% of the way there, because the US economy actually contracted or went negative in the first quarter of 2022 compared to last year. So if the second quarter is also going to be negative, then we'll officially be in a recession for the first half of this year. And according to JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, he sees a 33% chance of a mild recession and 33% chance of a severe recession. So that's a 66% chance of recession according to the CEO of the biggest bank in the US. But of course, we might completely avoid a recession and not have anything to worry about, but just in case you're thinking of ways to save money on the Apple ecosystem, let's get into some tips and great deals on Apple products. First of all, whatever you're buying, you should definitely be buying it from Amazon instead of Apple's website because Apple never has sale prices on their website, compared to Amazon, which routinely has some really amazing deals, as I'll show you over the next few minutes. Getting started, if you're looking to upgrade your iPhone, you can now find a fully unlocked, renewed iPhone 12 for just $496, which is a killer deal because you have up to 90 days to return it if you change your mind. And the iPhone 12 features the new flat-sided redesign and one of my favorite iPhone features ever, MagSafe, which I literally use every day for charging, mounting my iPhone in my car, and for my MagSafe wallet, which is really convenient. And speaking of MagSafe accessories, instead of buying Apple's MagSafe charger for $39 and their 20-watt USB-C power adapter for $19, which is a total of $58, you can literally just buy Anker's MagSafe wireless charger that comes bundled with a 20-watt adapter for only $22 right now if you're okay with 7.5-watt charging speeds. And instead of going on Apple's website to buy a MagSafe car vent mount for $40 to $60, you should be buying this one for $27 because it comes bundled with everything you need, including the MagSafe wireless charger, the power cable, and the power adapter, which I personally use in both of my cars because it's my all-time favorite iPhone accessory ever. Moving forward, Apple sells an expensive $59 MagSafe wallet, but this one is only $24 and it features much stronger magnets compared to the weak ones in Apple's wallet, which is the #1 complaint about it. Now, before I move on to the best ways to save on Macs, I want to mention that you can buy a 6-foot Anker USB-C to Lightning cable for only $15 instead of paying Apple $29 for their 6-foot cable. First of all, if you're thinking of buying a new Mac, I fully believe that the M1 MacBook Air for $950 on Amazon is by far the best bang for the buck Mac of all time, due to the M1 chip being more than powerful enough for most people, as well as having absolutely insane battery life and not having a fan that will lead to dust clogging the inside of the MacBook, which means that it's going to be reliable for years. And yes, we are expecting the redesigned M2 MacBook Air later this year, but it's also going to come with a price increase, likely starting at $1,200. So if you're trying to save money, you should honestly just buy the M1 MacBook Air right now while it's on sale. And if you're looking for a more powerful MacBook, I honestly believe that the base $2,000 14-inch MacBook Pro is more than fast enough for a lot of people out there that use productivity apps like photo editing, music production, programming, video editing, and more. But let's say you already have the M1 MacBook Air and the main reason you want to upgrade to the new MacBook Pro is because of the extra ports. I would instead buy an Anker USB-C hub for $60 to get those extra ports instead of buying a whole new MacBook Pro. And in my opinion, one of the best ways to save on Macs is to save on the internal storage cost. So instead of paying Apple $400 to upgrade your MacBook Air to 1TB of storage, you can buy the reliable Samsung T5 1TB external SSD for only $100 or upgrade to the faster T7 model for just $15 more. Now, moving on to the best ways to save on the iPad ecosystem, the current budget iPad is $20 off, which is a pretty good deal because the storage space is now doubled to 64 gigs with the new model, making it a very good deal. And if you want a more modern looking iPad, you've of course got the new iPad mini, which is currently $100 off right now. But if you're looking for a crazy good deal on a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, here's a renewed 2018 model with the flat-sided modern redesign and 256 gigs of storage for only $539, which is probably the best deal I've ever seen. And in terms of accessories, instead of paying Apple $100 or even $129 for the Apple Pencil, you can buy the Logitech Crayon for only $61 right now, which actually supports almost every iPad, including the iPad 9th Gen and the new iPad mini 6. And instead of buying Apple's expensive Magic Keyboard for the iPad Air and iPad Pro for $300, you can get the Logitech Folio Touch for the iPad Air for only $145 or the iPad Pro version for $160. And both of them support all of Apple's unique trackpad gestures, just like the Magic Keyboard, thanks to Smart Connector support. Now, in terms of AirPods, you can now get a basic set of 2nd gen AirPods for only $100, which is the best price ever, or if you want the AirPods Pros, they're only $175 right now, which is a great deal because they're much better than the new AirPods 3. Now, moving on to the Apple Watch, Amazon currently has some of the best sales right now, including a brand new Apple Watch SE for only $229, which I think is the best one to buy if you're on a budget because it comes with almost all the best features for the lowest possible price. Or if you really want to get the best-in-class Series 7, it's currently $70 off, so only $329, which is probably the best price I've ever seen on a latest model. And if you think you have to buy Apple's expensive watch bands, you don't. There are a ton of great options on Amazon that are much less expensive. Like this one for $13, which is rated very well with positive reviews, instead of paying Apple $100 for their solo braided loop bands. And there you guys go, those are a bunch of great Apple ecosystem deals and products to help you save money, especially if we are going into a recession. Now, if you completely disagree with my thoughts, then let me know down in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed the video, click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. Check out one of those two right there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.